If there is such thing as a gangster with ethics, we were that. You know, I see a lot of my guys dying. I see a lot of my guys turning on each other, killing each other. Started seeing how disgraceful shit was on the street, and that's kind of what turned me away from it.
Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini. I'm needy, on me only, I'm needy. Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini.
Left for a minute, I did not sweat it. Look at the cash I'm spinning. There it goes.
I heard a story briefly. I was inspired. As you know, my story, I came back from a stroke that almost killed me. So I look for entrepreneurs that have a story where they were going against life and they had setbacks and they come out of it and they make something out of themselves. So today's guest is someone who's been on TV, Cartel Crew. He's been in movies. He's doing more movies as we speak right now. He has his own business. He's an entrepreneur. His company is called Eddie Soto Official. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a good man. He's here today. How you doing, man?
Good in yourself, man.
Thank you for coming.
Of course, my pleasure.
It's been a minute, man.
We've been going back and forth for a while now.
I have to be honest with you, man. I was kind of when I first DM'd you, I thought you'd be like an extra tough guy and like, no, dude, I don't do that stuff. You're so humble.
You know, it's weird that you say that because I really don't. I really don't do much of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was telling Kat yesterday, I'm like, if I believe in someone's product, service, or movement, right?
Yeah.
I would actually, I would entertain it.
Wow.
So I did a little bit of homework myself.
Okay.
And I'm
Appreciate
like, okay,
that,
this
man.
is not just somebody that, is a fan, like I told you yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have fans. I have people that might watch me and might want to be like me. I don't necessarily agree with it. I have supporters. People who either relate to what I've been through or has some sort of compatibility, and those are the people that I align myself with mostly, as far as my audience.
That's amazing. That means a lot to me, Eddie. Honestly, that means a lot to me that you gave me the opportunity. I was like, man, I don't think he's gonna get back to me. My wife's sitting next to me. I'm like, honey, I've been watching this guy for a minute. She's like, babe, just try it. Reach out. But thank you for doing that. Let's start with your origin story. Where are you born and raised?
So born and raised right here in Miami,
Okay.
in a city called ﷺ.
Yes,
so
sir.
more like Latino heavy.
Yes.
Went to school, or at least tried.
Yeah.
Didn't make it past, my freshman year in high school. Jumped from high school to high school, got kicked out of it. But I stepped off the porch at a really young age.
Okay.
Yeah, at a really, really, really young age. I would probably say the catalyst of the past life that I had was when my father left. I felt like I had to step up, be the man of the house. So about age 8 or 9, I was already on the street. I had my first gun at the age of 11, and soon after I was like deep into the streets.
Where's mom and dad from?
My mom is Brazilian.
Okay.
Dad's Dominican.
Dominican. Okay, good stuff. So I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. So a lot of Puerto Rican and Dominicans, and I grew up with all of them. Good people.
But you're from here.
I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, and I moved to Miami.
Cool. Okay.
So like first 20 years of my life was in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then my last 20 has been here. I'm 41.
Cool. Okay.
So I'm very familiar. Miami Lakes, live in Miramar, Florida. So I'm right down the road from Hialeah.
Okay.
So Dominicans, okay,
Yeah.
they're hard-tempered, right? I mean, Brazilians, a little different of a sentiment. I think they're more laid back. Brazilian, in my experience.
Yeah, they're the silent killer type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So mom and dad, what they do for a living?
So my dad was an architect.
Okay.
Turned contract. He's a contractor now. Has his own contracting business. Mom worked in insurance.
Okay. Back then.
Still kind of do.
Okay.
I just retired my mom, so now she's doing real estate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Eddie, dad is an architect. You need to go to school for that.
Yeah.
Your family seemed like a middle-class family.
They weren't a middle class family, but they weren't on the shit that I'm on. Yeah, like I grew up with good parents. Like my father is a very ethical person. Mom's never tried a drug in her life.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was. I mean, you have two different outcomes. You have those type of people that grew up in it,
Yes.
which I grew up in the city, in the environment, but not in the household.
That's what I was thinking.
Right, and then they want to go out and experience, get curious. That was me. Then you got those people who actually grew up in it, house, outside, everywhere, and kind of stray away from that. I was
You were
the
second
third.
one.
Right.
What happened? By the way, how many sisters, brothers do you have?
So I have a brother from my dad's side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. So you're the only child.
Right.
Do you think that had something to do with it, maybe?
More so, just me being raised where I was raised had everything to do with it.
Hialeah.
Right. And I remember my teachers asking me when I was younger, like, at least, go around the class and ask everybody, what do you want to do? I never knew the answer to that. And about the age of 8 or 9, I knew the answer.
Wow.
And I told my teacher one day, I'm like, I want to be a gangster. And everyone started like laughing, but the teacher looked at me like with a serious face, like, fuck, I never heard that one before.
You said that.
I said, I want to be a gangster.
Wow.
And, that's like all the people I was inspired by, like the gangsters in my neighborhood. I mean, I wasn't really too big on movie. I barely watch TV, still do.
Sure.
But like I had some big role models very close
Locally.
to me, right?
You're a young kid looking up at them, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is the 80s we're talking about?
Born in 89. So.
Okay, so yeah, I'm 82. 82 Brooklyn, gangs were a big thing in Brooklyn at that time. Now it's cleaned up a lot. I think same thing with Miami, I think, right? I mean, I'm sure they're still there. But
Cleaned
a gang is cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
The gang culture, it was big in the 80s and started dying out in the 90s. Imagine if you were born in the 90s, which outcome would have been different. Who knows?
I mean, I feel like regardless the outcome, this would have been the end result.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that everyone goes to wherever they go in life in sequence for a reason.
The journeys for their purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like my task, my purpose now is to touch a demographic that many people can't.
Yeah.
But I had to go through hell.
You
I
had to
had
go
to
through
dance
hell.
with the devil.
Dance with the devil.
Right.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you told your teacher you want to be a gangster. You manifested that. So 11, first gun?
Got my first gun at 11, which I have tied it right here.
Wow.
A Desert Eagle. I didn't even know how to fucking barely pick it up.
Why'd you get it?
Again, man, just coming from the neighborhood,
The
I was
mindset.
already in
Sure.
to the game,
Sure.
I had a couple of the older guys that tried to, pull some stunts on me.
Sure.
So, I mean, I grew up really fast, man.
Wow.
I grew up really fast, and that's where I wanted to be, and I ended up being the best in my city.
Mom and dad were not freaking out. Like, what the hell?
Well, Dad left the house at a very young age.
Okay.
Mom didn't have enough life experience to even, she lost control of me at probably the age of 13, 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
She did the best she can.
Yeah.
Well,
No, she did great.
Right.
She's still like a big
Sure.
part of my life, always has been. But yeah, she couldn't, she couldn't stop me.
So your parents split.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very similar stories mine too. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. My parents got divorced at age 6 or 7. I was 6, 7. So my parents from Pakistan. In Pakistani culture, divorce was not a common thing back
Right.
then. It was like taboo. So I was the only person in my community in Brooklyn who had parents that divorced.
Same here.
You know what I mean? It's like, and people look at you like, what the hell's wrong with you, right? Lucky for me, my mom was overbearing. She was like, you know what? You're not going anywhere. I'm going to get you a video card and I watch movies. And I fell in love with movies. That was my only way to stay out of the streets. So I can see how my mom did the best she can. So I can see how your mom did the best she can.
Yeah, she tried it all. Sports, she bought me on the little game centers.
Sure.
I used to use them. I used to gut them out and use them as stashes. I used to stash my...
At age 11?
Yeah, I used to gut the fucking Atari out, Nintendos, and I used to stash all my shit in there.
So did you start selling drugs at that age?
I started selling reggies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Okay.
that. Yeah, so like the lower quality stuff at about the age of 8 or 9. And then I upgraded to Crip, and then from there it was fucking the gateway to just everything. I
Okay.
put my hands on basically everything, yeah.
So what was the first age? How old were you when you got in trouble, like major trouble?
Major trouble, you would consider what, getting arrested?
Get arrested.
13. I remember getting arrested at a ﷺ party.
Okay.
And I was still younger. I was like, still the youngest kid around. And I got arrested at a Walgreens for stealing Visine because my eyes were bloodshot right
Sure.
from how high it was, right? And I remember my dad, I used to manipulate the shit out of my dad. I had him come pick me up at the Jack, at the juvenile hall center, and he brought me right back to the party. And there's a couple instances like along my journey where I felt invisible because of that, but that was probably one of the biggest ones. I've been arrested 60 times, man. The 61st time is when I finally got incarcerated. That's when they got me. They're like, all right, this guy's going in now.
Wow. That's heavy, man. Let's unpack that a little bit more. I guess once you get arrested, the fear to get arrested after that goes away,
Obsolete.
right? There's no fears anymore. Eddie, be honest with me. Was there fear of dying, man, in your teenage years?
It was almost expected.
Wow.
It was either that or life sentence.
You're programmed to say, hey, you'll be very lucky if you get out of this, but around the corner is someone to come at you, or the police will come after you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was expected, 100%.
It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Are these rules of the game back then?
So-called.
Okay.
Right. So-called. Everyone breaks them. Everyone breaks them. And I was really down to the T when it came to the code. Never broke a fucking law in my life. Went inside, started seeing how disgraceful shit was on the street, and that's kind of what turned me away from it. I see a lot of my guys dying. I see a lot of my guys turning on each other, killing each other on the street, and it's like I've never been heartbroken over a woman. I was more heartbroken over that. Your boys. No, it was mine. Yeah. Remember, yeah. I climbed to the top. I was the head of it. My whole, I'm not gonna get too in depth here. That's fine. I respect that. That really just started to change my perspective about shit. And then being incarcerated on a 2,000 man compound, I started to see fuck, everyone on every corner is a chomo or they're a snitch or, the game was fucked up. So and then that's when it just like a switch just flipped, and I used that time wisely, man. I started surrounding myself around the people that I was able to soak as much knowledge of, and I'm a byproduct of that now. So let's go back. So 11, 12, you got arrested. How old you got arrested? This is the first time? First time, I think it was 13 or 14. Okay, fine. Yeah. You're not even driving yet? No. All right. Yeah, I mean, I was illegally. But, legally, yeah. You just sell cocaine? I sold everything, all the above. Full menu. One-stop shop. I sold it all. Did you start using it? I experimented. I was never addicted to nothing, right? I used to smoke a lot of weed. Okay. But I was never big on cocaine, ecstasy, heroin, crack, none of that, What was the hottest thing back then, the 80s, 90s, growing up in Miami? Hialeah especially. Well, cocaine, obviously. Cocaine's big, right? But when I went in, it was over a big Molly case. Ah. Okay. We're like one of the first ones to do it here in Miami. Okay. I want to get there in a second. Did you ever get betrayed? Oh, 100%. Your boys. You do your ride and die, bro. Really? Yeah. What was the first time? Tell me the first time, if you remember your situation. What the fuck? You're my brother. Time. Yeah. I don't know, man. Again, that was something that was expected. That was expected. That was part of the game. There was a point where I got I got to a point in my life where if I get in a car, I can get in the car with my right-hand man, with my warlord, with the guy I trusted the most, and I'm already thinking, getting in the car, okay, how am I going to stick a knife in this guy's neck? How am I going to kill this guy? How am I going to disarm this guy, right, if I'm being set up, right? You're calculating that already. Every single time. This is not shutting off. That's the reason why I'm here today. Because there's many times I've dodged the craziest shit. I will walk out of places and I will look on trees. I'll walk up to every car, look through the windows. The 2 times they came to get me, right? I didn't get caught. That's how wary I was. I had such a high level of awareness. So as far as being betrayed, man, I have one that I'm not gonna speak about because I was like my brother, but it was expected, and it was even expected from him. How long you known him for? Man, since we were fucking kids, diapers. Yeah, not diapers, but from the jump. Yeah, I think going into middle school, we went into middle school together. Yeah, you're young. That's like bonding, man. That's brotherhood right there, right? I have boys like that till this day. I'm 41, dude. I have friends from Brooklyn that till this day, my boys. I cannot imagine them doing that to me. I'd be heartbroken. I can only imagine how it's for you, man. It's different. It's a different world, man. It's different because when you come into that world, it's rules. It's part of it. Part of it. You signed up for it. There's people that I have in my life where I will be surprised if it happened, which I never got them into it. Sure. Like this guy who I'm speaking about, I didn't want him in that life because of how close we were. But he was going to get in it regardless. It wasn't through me, it was through somebody else. Right? So the day literally that he actually came into my world, I told him, you fucked your life up. I said, your life is fucked up from here on out. And he accepted it. That's horrible, man. But yeah, that's like the part norm, of the man. Game. It was a norm. Who is there a recruiter? Is there like a gang recruiter? Oh, everyone has a position. Everyone does. I wouldn't necessarily call us a gang. We're more like a crime organization. Oh wow, that's even bigger. Yeah. Yeah, we weren't like on street corners. I mean, obviously everyone, they graduate from
Sure.
there. But yeah, we were big.
So
We're really big here in Miami.
Like prostitution?
Nah, prostitution is something we never did.
Okay.
If there is such thing as a gangster with ethics, we were that. And what I mean by that, there was no heavy drug usage.
Okay.
Amongst the people that I was with. There was no like robbing.
Okay.
We didn't
Breaking people's houses?
condone
No.
into that petty shit.
Rob an old lady walking by?
Yeah, like
nothing.
fucking with each other's wives or girlfriends.
None of that.
Yeah, we didn't condone that. There was things,
There was
obviously,
something.
like me, for example, I had 2 women at the same time for multiple years.
Sure.
That was looked upon as
Yeah.
a good thing.
That's your
right?
thing. You're top G.
Right, but as far as like that petty or that, vindictive, shicey shit, we didn't condone that, yeah.
There's an honor there. There's a
Yeah.
bit of an honor. Even though there's betrayal,
Right.
but they will not sleep with your girl.
Mhm.
Wow. Interesting. That's interesting. Teenage, okay, so you started probably climbed the ladder, Eddie? Okay. So what's the highest rank did you get to in organizing?
Top.
Top. Boss man.
I was the top.
Calling the shots.
I was a hey honcho.
Did you get in the party scene in South Florida?
I was not in the party scene.
So that's interesting. Is that by strategy?
Me personally, I wasn't in it.
Stay undercover.
Yeah, there is,
Low-key.
like that wasn't a thing that we were against.
Yes.
I just wasn't in it. It's like
Why?
when you see me pulling up to the club, there was something about to go down. It wasn't to go hang out and none of that shit,
Okay, so could I had hired you to say, hey, man, that business partner of mine fucked me over, dude?
No.
Eddie, fuck him up. Here, 10 stacks. No.
Nah, we didn't do no outside business like that.
Interesting. Did the
We protected.
protected people? Okay.
We protected like ours,
Your
like-
people. But like
And
if
it
I'm-
wasn't a demand or it wasn't asked,
it's spoken about.
Right.
So if I'm like a big time entrepreneur and I say, Eddie, I need some heavy security. I'm gonna walk in the club with my girl, have some haters. No, you want no. You're not money for hire. You're not for hire. It wasn't
Yeah.
that. It was okay. Interesting. Did you sleep good at night from 18 age years and after?
My man, I was living on such fucking impulse that I couldn't tell you what felt good or what felt bad. Like the only euphoric place that I ever felt what sane was with my children. That's it. Besides that, like fuck sleep, fuck how good the sex was, fuck how much money I made. All right, like it was just on impulse. I wouldn't sleep till 8, 9 in the morning. If I wasn't asleep by around that time, I wouldn't go to sleep. Because we know the time that they kick indoors.
What are the times?
Between 5 and 7 in the morning.
Strategy of the enforcement. Interesting.
Yeah, so I was never asleep at that time.
Your kids, how old are your kids?
One just turned 9 and the other one's turning 12 next
Okay.
month.
2 boys, right?
2 boys.
I saw you on social media. Good looking boys, man.
Thank you.
You're a proud dad, I can tell.
Yeah.
You're a loving father.
Yeah, I take a lot of integrity in that.
That's very important to you. By interviews I saw, by the way, I saw many of your many of Cass' interviews, but I saw you're a really proud father. Talk about that, man. Where did that come from? Is that for your dad left you, maybe? I'm the same way. Right?
It has a lot to do with
Yeah.
it. And again, you have people who see things coming up and they follow, or you have people who didn't have that and they do the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right, so it wasn't even my father's fault. Like me and my father are now like in a stage of reconciling, and I come to find out that he had the same relationship with his father.
Cycle,
It's like a
repeat
very
it.
distant thing, right? And I found this out through my uncle, his brother.
Okay.
But his brother chose to be a very present father. But no, I mean, my dad's a great man, great man. He just didn't know how to be a father.
Young, probably.
He wasn't.
No?
He had me at 28.
Yeah, that's late.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in Spanish culture. I have Puerto Rican friends that have got kids like 18, 19, 17. Yeah.
But that's it, man. I mean, I don't know how someone just can't love their children. Right?
Sure.
They're just like walking replicas of you.
Sure.
Right?
Trust me.
Yeah, I'm just complete in love with them,
Yeah, there's some funny you say that. I have 2 daughters, 6 and 5. I love to
I'd
death.
be a sucker if I
Dude,
had a daughter.
dude, I can see that. My dad left me, man, and until this day, him and me are not close, and he doesn't even call for my daughter's birthdays. And I think about it, man, like, how does he sleep at night? But I think he's wired like that. He's wired like that, and he's very machismo from Pakistan. There's very like you guys. He's like you're pussies out here in America. You guys don't know how rough we had it growing up over there and stuff. But it's sad. But anyways, that's something I
just to touch on that.
Yeah,
quick,
please.
Right? Like I never judge somebody for who they are, or the actions they project outwardly. Right.
Sure.
I always look so deep into it, like. And if I can find out any background or whatnot, like why is this person like that? And it's never their fault.
No, you're right, 100%.
Right? It's never their fault that they're like that. It is their fault that they're still like that. Of course, if it would have been my fault, I've always still been in the bullshit.
Good point.
Right? But it's not their fault that they turned out that way.
That's probably a good point.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I look into that, and that's really why me and my dad are reconciling right now. Because after I had that conversation, I said, "Damn, hold on. It wasn't him."
That's insane, man.
Right? So
you just like going therapy?
No, we
Okay.
just we're hanging
Healing.
out a lot more.
Still
Yeah.
healing.
I've never really been fucked up about it in the first place. I never blamed them for nothing. I actually thank him, because if he would have been present, I might not have been the man I am today. I might
Interesting.
not have been the father I am today. It's all about perspective.
That's amazing.
You
Dude,
know.
how old are you?
33.
You are a wise man.
Yeah, I've been through some shit, man.
It's tough you're saying that. It took me 4 years, and I'm like, shit, like, wow. I think you just grew up faster. You had no choice.
And I kind of still live on that, with that motto. Right? Like I always like to put myself in just uncomfortable situations. I like to put myself through challenges, The most valuable thing that anyone can have is life experience. It's not a skill set.
100%.
All right? It's
Not
not
a degree.
look, it's not money. It's not a degree. It's life experience.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes what it makes a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I'm really so big on fitness. Like that should save my life.
Yeah.
And I've been working out for 20 years already. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that I want to work. It's not necessarily the fact that I work out because I want to look good.
Sure.
That's a byproduct,
Of
right?
course.
It's inevitable.
It comes up.
It's because it still challenges me. Right? It helps me take, some people know how to take themselves to that place, right? To their higher conscious, whether it be religion, whether it be meditation, whether it be, hugging trees, whatever it is. Me is exercise. And that's what I teach my clients. I tell them, look, get in that gym and that's you time. Whatever you learn there, take it outside of those walls. Don't use the gym as therapy, right? And then I do the same. It gets deeper, but I do the same with nutrition. Like if you can be controlled by the foods that you shouldn't be eating, you're gonna get controlled by everyone around you. You're gonna get controlled by your vices. You're gonna get controlled by that, abusive spouse. You're gonna get controlled by your fucking toxic boss. It's literally that, like self-control is self-mastery. So I learned self-control through exercise and nutrition. I didn't know fucking thing. I didn't know how to be in a good relationship. I didn't know how to have a legitimate business. I learned how to do everything for myself first through my own process where I teach people. And now I'm able to create this life outside of it now.
Do you think the game you're in that help? It's a business, right?
Yeah.
What
I
you
turn
do
my
now?
passion into my business.
Exactly. That I'm sure you probably credit that. What you learn from that, the concept, the principle, the discipline, they come into in your life now.
100%.
They say that addicts are awesome entrepreneurs. If an addict is able to get away from the drug or the alcohol and they put that type of focus on building a life of value, they go to the moon. Right?
It's crazy that you say that, right? Because my mentor, the people he's hired to take over his companies, like as CEOs, are all recovering or prior addicts. Because like having that addictive personality, all you have to do is kind of shift them and
That's it.
here directing into something
And
more
they go.
positive. Get addictive.
They run.
Right? Yeah. I was addicted to. I wasn't addicted
Sure.
to vice. I was addicted to power.
Power.
Right. That's what I was addicted to. So now I'm still addicted to that in this field, but in the sense of like I want to be the fucking best to ever change people's life. Like I want to change people's life so profoundly,
Sure.
like down to the fucking core, because I can do it. That's why I don't sympathize with people. When someone tells me, "Oh, is that I got 3 kids." My wife left me and, I have time. I said, that's the fucking reason. Like, that's the fucking reason. That's not the excuse. That's exactly your reason to do what you need to do to get the fuck out of that victim mentality. right? I don't sympathize with shit. People tell me, oh, you know what I could have been going through when you sent this message. I'm like, that's probably what you needed. I wish I had it. And you forget where I come from? I wasn't raised on a silver spoon out here dishing fucking, little shots at people. No, I came from fucking hell.
Hell and back.
Right? And I tell people, I say, maybe you haven't gotten deep into it. Maybe it hasn't burned. Maybe it hasn't like hurt enough.
Rock bottom.
It's not even rock bottom, because some people hit rock bottom. It's just the tolerance that some people have as far as taking the shit before they change, right? Like, the only time that someone will ever change is if the pain of changing exceeds the pain of making the change.
Killed it, bro. Nailed it.
Right? Like, if you have yet to make the change, it's because the actual pain of not changing hasn't exceeded it yet. Yeah. It's like maybe you might have to go through some more shit. I tell people all the time, I'm like, maybe you have another run. Circle back when you're
ready.
Done with your vices and your bullshit.
Wow.
Some people need that motherfucker in their life like me. The one that's gonna tell them, I'm not the type of person that's gonna please everybody.
Sure.
I'm the repel and attract type guy. I'm not for everybody, but I'm the person that everybody needs.
You're not everyone's cup of tea, pretty much.
I'm definitely not.
And you don't want to be.
I don't.
You don't want to be, like, oh, I'm here for everyone, one-stop shop. No.
I'm a very intense person, man.
Yeah.
But in a great way. Like, even with my fiance, I'm super intense.
Sure.
And she wasn't,
ready for that?
She wasn't ready for that when we first got together. And we'll speak about that now.
Yeah, I want to hear from her.
But she's realized how much of a place, like how much of a good place it comes from,
That's awesome, man. What a life you live, man.
Yeah, I'm just getting started.
You're getting started, man. Talk about relationships, man. You're a good-looking guy, dude. I'm sure a lot of women came on to you, multiple girlfriends you had at a time. When did you start saying, wait a minute, man, this is good, this is a lot of fun, but where does things, I need a serious life partner. When did that happen for you?
Are you talking about, because even back then I thought the same way.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Like, I wasn't fucking off. Like, I wasn't paying for women or none of that shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that happened. That all changed for me. I had, rest in peace, he was my OG. He was actually the founder of my crime organization.
Okay.
Right, took me under his wing at a very young age, and I remember sitting in a house, right, and some woman walks in, and this was probably like 19, no, not even. It was like 2001.
Okay.
2001-ish, 2002-ish. 2002, 2003, early 2000s, right? And that's when plastic surgery wasn't like a big thing. Right? So this like super curvaceous, like Amazonic woman walks in, and I'm young as shit, right? Like, I barely got hair on my balls at the time. And I'm looking, I'm like kind of nervous. I'm like, fuck, and my uncle, which is what I call him, he notices it. And he's like, hey, you like what you see? I'm like, what are you talking about? Uncle, stop playing, He's like, you like what you see?
Wow.
I'm like, fuck, this is like, it was like super embarrassing.
The movie. Yeah.
So she opens her purse. She takes out a bunch of like jewelry out of her purse. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Okay.
At this point, I'm just like in complete awe. I'm like, fuck. I'm like trying not to look, and he starts to play a game, man. Like, he starts to like tempt me. He's like, hey, what do you think about my nephew? And the girl looks at me, and I'm like super fucking nervous at this time. I'm like, fuck. And he's like, how old is he? He's like 13. He's like, well, when he hits 18. I'll definitely take him down. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I think I'm starting to sweat now. I'm like, fuck, and it's crazy because I was actually with his niece, which is the mother of my first son.
Oh wow.
That's kind of how I came into it, right? So he's like, Neff, what do you think? I'm like, oh, stop playing, man. Like, I'm with Stephanie. What are you talking about? He's like, I saw you looking. Like, what do you think? You think she looks good? And he like twirls her. And I'm like, not trying to look. I'm like, I mean, she's a pretty older woman. And again, he was the main guy at the time. So he sits down, and then some other guy comes out of the back room, and he like kind of yokes her up against the wall. Like, not hard in a way, but like yokes her up against the wall. And he looks at me, and that's the first time I met him too. He looks at me, he's like, you know what this bitch does for a living? I'm like, fuck. I'm like, why are you doing that, man? Like, let go of the girl, And then like my uncle knew I was a very already like outspoken guy at the time. He sits my eyes down. He's like, take this lesson. He's like, you know what she does? I said, she has full-blown AIDS. She fucks men, drugs them, robs them, and gives them AIDS. Like, basically gives them like a death sentence. So I looked, and that was like an eye-opener for me. I'm like, damn. And then obviously we've all heard the term, like, everything that shines is not gold. So he's like, don't look for somebody. And I took that lesson not just for women, but for everybody. He's like, don't take somebody for how they look, more so for who they are. Right? So it's like character, all character. You know, I didn't have nothing but 2 minutes to get to know this woman. I don't know her fucking character. She was fucking gorgeous at the time. I don't think I've ever seen nothing like that until that age, right? But that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned from him. And then he got killed a couple of years after that. So he was like my father figure. He was like my first mentor, like that first male influence that I had in my life. His son was actually supposed to come, be here with me. He was gonna join me.
Oh, really?
Not on the podcast, but he was supposed to come. But that was one of many, lessons that I took. But that's from there on. I never really got with women that were, like, not to judge, but like
sure.
women that weren't, out in the clubs or selling their shit. So I've always felt in that life that I used to live, I needed a woman that fit the description to play the role that I needed at the time. And me thinking selfishly and like a fucking immature child that I was, one couldn't play it, so I had to have two. So same thing in this life, Now I'm like, okay, I need a woman who's gonna fit this role.
Sure.
A driven, beautiful, someone who's gonna like challenge me and push me. So it wasn't necessarily her looks that got me. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a beautiful woman.
She is
right?
beautiful.
But it was like her character.
Yes.
And I've learned to observe that before I even like get to know somebody.
I'm sure that's not easy to find. I mean, she's beautiful, and a lot of beautiful girls out there. We're in Miami, right? And it's just insane, the men and women here. But how hard was it to find a girl who's that beautiful and also has a good heart?
No, it's damn near fucking impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah. Man, no, I got lucky with her.
Yeah. You guys are good couple. I think you guys are a power couple. Before I get her on and interview her, what type of drug? Do you have nice cars when selling drugs? No.
Oh, I had like a Chevy Caprice on the big fucking rims.
Did you have nice clothes?
I went through all the phases, man.
Watches.
I had the Rolexes, the Cuban links, but I probably nothing longer than a year.
You did a federal.
Oh, what?
You went to jail for a federal crime, right?
Federal.
When was that?
What was it?
When was it? And when?
In 2015. 16-month indictment.
What was that for?
Drugs, guns, almost RICO. They almost got us on the racketeering.
RICO was a law that passed, I think, 20 years ago with the Italian mafia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about RICO. What is exactly, for the people who don't know?
Crime organization.
And they have almost no right. Like, there's a very strong law against that. And they could pull up anything against you and take you in.
It's just organized crimes.
That's it. Simple as that.
They put positions on people, they attach crimes to people, and they just run up your numbers.
So was selling drugs, though?
Drugs, guns, everything.
So we were off. I think we were talking Molly's. Like, what situation with Molly's? You said was it?
Well, it's crazy, right? Because this was probably the most innocent I've ever been, and this was the time that they actually were able to, pin me down. So I was actually charged with just conspiracy.
Okay.
No evidence. They never caught me with nothing. 2 text messages, 1 phone call. 12.5 years is where they wanted to start me at. And they were bringing it down all the way down to 5. But yeah, it was that. I mean, we were into everything, man.
Everything.
And the reason I'm speaking about this is because obviously I got charged with it already.
Sure.
Prior to that, I got charged with cultivating.
Yeah.
I was actually on state probation for a charge that I beat for cultivating when I caught this Fed case. And then while I'm on the street 7.5 months fighting this Fed case, I was able to get my state probation early terminated. I was good at what I did, man. I was really fucking good at what I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember the judge telling me when he found out that I was on state probation before I eliminated it, he's like, oh, you think you're Michael Jackson, huh? Smooth criminal.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's like, you ain't going. He told me you're not gonna moonwalk yourself out of this one. I'm like, I looked at my lawyer. I'm like, damn, is this motherfucker allowed to talk to me?
Yeah,
like this?
exactly.
But I was good, man. I was really fucking good at what I did, man.
Do you think you had an angel on top of you? I know you're not religious and stuff. I mean, spiritual. But you survived, man.
I wouldn't say angel. I would just say purpose. I had more to contribute to this world.
Hey, buddy, you dodge bullets, dude. You dodge people in trees, bro. It's like a movie. This is Miami Vice. You live the Miami Vice life, bro.
But I'm able to help people with it now.
Yeah, but back then, how'd you survive it? Like, you dodge bullets all over.
So this is, like, I'm a very spiritual person. I grew up in a Christian home.
Okay.
Right? But I'm not atheist. I just believe in how strong the mindset is, right?
I got you. Me too.
And I'm a firm believer that when someone's time is up, whatever it is, our higher power, whether it be karma, whether it be the universe, right? It's because
God,
you are
whatever.
done contributing to this world.
Okay.
I'm just a firm believer in that,
Okay.
right? Like if you get taken from this world, it's because you've done your part,
Got you.
right?
Strong.
And if you haven't, it's because you have, right? So if some people get taken from this world a little bit earlier, it's because they might have been a wake-up call for the person closest to
That's
them.
insane, dude. That's heavy.
You know?
That's heavy.
That's just the only shit that I can think of relating to myself,
Makes
because I'm
sense.
like, I've dodged many fucking bullets. I've dodged
That's what I'm
many
saying, dude.
life sentences. You know, and that's just the only thing that I can think of. You know,
That's insane,
That
man.
makes the most sense, really.
It makes a lot of sense. You're right.
You know,
I mean, to dodge all that. For example, I'll tell you. I told you my story on my IG. We're walking back and forth. I was in a coma. Christmas morning, I had a stroke. In a coma here in Hollywood.
how long ago was that?
5 years ago.
Okay.
Christmas morning, my wife was pregnant. She had one baby on the way, one running around. She's a physician. She went to work, and I gave her a kiss and said, "Babe, come back soon. We'll go to dinner." And thank God that day she had a babysitter at the house because I was tired. So I go upstairs. I just fell down. Boom. My whole right side just gave in. My phone, my hands working like this. I called her. I'm like it was gibberish. And she's like, "Are you okay? Stop playing around. I'm at work. I was busy today, babe. It's busy. Leave me alone." I'm like, and my babysitter, Isa, she's from South America. God bless her. She couldn't speak a word of English, but she texted my wife, and my wife speaks Spanish. And she was, Simon, KB's on the floor, not looking good. Ambulance came, took me in, and I was in a coma for 1 whole week. When I woke up, my best friend right next to me, just like you, right buff guy, he goes, "Listen, man, you survived a stroke, but you're not looking good." And I'm thinking there, like, this is my time. This may be my time. And I remember, Eddie, when I got up and running, I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't say anything. Like right now, they call me the miracle patient. They made a video about me. Like chances for me were very low. And I get very emotional when you tell that to me. Like I think, why was not my time?
Doesn't make sense now.
Right? My friends and family were called in to say goodbye. Everyone flew in and they said goodbye. And I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I'm living this miserable life. I'm doing 9 to 5. I don't like to do. I have a beautiful wife I'm in love with, but we're not even connected anymore. We're such, after making money. And then I found entrepreneurship and I found this. And that's the purpose of this podcast, man, is that people have a higher purpose.
I agree, 100%.
Right.
Take a minute tonight, right, and kind of like do some introspection and think of the sequences that led up to that stroke.
Sure.
And I promise you, there was signs or wake-up calls that you just didn't listen to.
They were.
Right? And then that was the one that said, "All right, KB, it's time to wake the fuck up."
Yes.
That was me.
Yes.
I have been locked up so many times. I remember the last time before I went and then actually got incarcerated, the case that I got probation for. I remember sitting at the end of the table with narcs surrounding my table, and they drop all this shit on the table like, "This is what we got on you, man. Like, you got anything for us?"
You're in.
I'm like, "Fuck you guys. I thought I was invisible." And that's when, again, whatever it is, was like, "You stubborn motherfucker. I'm going to have to flip you on your head next time." And I'm glad everything happened in the exact sequence that it happened. But I remember looking at the table, at the end of the table, I just pictured myself like I'm the real life Godfather.
You are.
And looking, I'm like, "You miserable fat fuck. Like, fuck you guys. You're going to go home. Your wife is out fucking." Like, I was just talking shit. Like, "Your wife is out fucking a criminal just like me. Get me the fuck out of here." And then I was just laughing. Oh, man, I was a motherfucker, man.
That's insane, man. Wow. When when the flip happen? The switch?
So when I got incarcerated, I got sent here to downtown, the FDC building. And it got even worse there. Right? It got even worse. I remember my first night in there, I looked out the window, scratchy ass window, and I remember telling myself, I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to be right here. So at the time, I'm thinking like, okay, I made my name out there. Now I need to make my name in here. You know, and I ran with that shit for like 6 months. Like, we took over the whole building. It was very political. Like, we ran the whole yard. Then I got shipped off to Central Florida. And when I landed on that camp and I saw how fucked up this game, right, that I was playing was, like, I'm walking in the chow hall and I'm hearing the guy talking about, like, oh, I snitched on my cousin. And the other guy's like, I snitched on my sister. Like, they were almost competing to see who's. It was like such a fucking nightmare. And that, like, I took that so serious. Again, that, and then hearing what was going on in the street, seeing how everything was falling apart. I'm like, fuck this game. And I tell it just like that. Like, I'm not this Bible-toting, you know, turn my cheek type of guy. You know, I tell, like, the guys on the street. Like, I still speak to high-powered guys on the street. And I tell them, like, fuck the game. And everyone that's going to watch is like, fuck the game. Fuck the streets. Like, you can have that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just when it switched for me. I'm like, damn, I almost gave my life. Like, I almost left 2 kids without a fucking father for this bullshit. You know, and that's it. That was a switch for me.
After that, no looking back.
That's it. No looking back. I'm not tempted. I'm actually disgusted. I'm like, I don't feel like anything that I used to do is hanging over my head. Like, I want to go back to it.
Yeah.
Right?
You meet your peace with it.
I just love the life that I'm creating, man.
You're living an amazing life, man. With that being said, I'll have my next guest, Catherine. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you,
You're a
my
good
man.
man, dude.